Hello, World Ablaze listeners, and welcome to my episode 38. But this is kind of a first episode of what we will call the Stretch Ablaze episodes. These will be kind of a special episode, special edition type thing that my brother and I will get together on, and where we dive a little deeper into the political sphere, news, etc. Manuel is the host of Stretchgoose, or the Stretchgoose Podcast, and also my co-host on Random Thoughts with Manuel and George. And he's here in the studio right now. We're going to do a whole DNC breakdown, just as I promised, because I was going to hold this for when I had my brother with me, so we can really dive into this and we could bounce, things off of each other and hopefully make it a bit more engaging, as this could kind of be a long episode, but my brother's currently struggling right now. And we usually save these things for Random Thoughts, but I think just by watching him struggle so much, I want him to express his troubles at the moment.
Look, okay. I was at Five Below, which is a discount store, I guess. And I found an energy drink called Bob Ross Positive Energy. And fuck it, it's Bob Ross, right? You got to try it. So
it's positive. It's Bob Ross.
Bob Ross's fucking face is smiling back at you. But the drink is like fucking glue. Like your mouth just sticks. And
what?
And I know everything's all chemicals and shit. Like there's no actual flavoring. But it's got FDAC Blue 1, which is probably why it looks blue and turquoisey. But I don't understand it. But it's very disgusting. It's not positive at all.
So if
I have to rate this, it's fucking garbage can immediately.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell everybody that if you haven't heard my brother's show and you haven't heard our other show, Random Thoughts, let me just say this. Everybody kind of knows I'm a cigar smoker, kind of coffee guy. I'll dabble in a Red Bull once in a while. My brother he's a big energy drink connoisseur. And he's ran the gamut of all of them. He rates them, and
God,
this obviously does not meet his expectations.
This
doesn't meet his standards.
This shit is just below Ghost and slightly above Rise, maybe.
All right. Well, sorry that you're dealing with that as we're trying to power through this in the morning.
I am completely done drinking it. We'll just use his face as inspiration.
Actually, that is a good idea, because we're going to need it as we go through this.
Because we are going to struggle
reaction here.
Also, if you don't know the political leanings that we may have by now, through listening through, like obviously World Ablaze, or sometimes Stretchgoose goes on a rant, if you don't figure out what the leanings are by that alone, I apologize. But we are definitely going to shit all over the DNC. We are, because this was 4 days of acting like we don't own a television. We've never seen any newsreels. Like everything is brand new. Everything is like out of the box, like fresh out of the fucking box with the packaging still on it. We've never seen Kamala Harris as the Attorney General of California, District Attorney of San Francisco. We've never seen Joe Biden over 50 years do anything. Like it was a really weird fucking DNC. It was just like, it was like shit just started like 8 weeks ago.
It just felt like a big. I mean, we already know there's propaganda when it comes to politics in the government, but this really, really was one giant live action propaganda reel, because almost every speaker, not all, there were some people that really felt genuine. You could tell they were genuine about what they were talking about and what they believed in. But for the most part, it seemed like everyone was literally just acting, And on my last episode I just did, number 37, I actually went through the whole Kamala Harris speech on her last day, basically the 42-minute, acceptance speech, closing remarks. And I'm watching her, and you can see how she seems uncomfortable when she's talking about certain topics, and she seems like she's just really literally acting. Like she doesn't really believe half the stuff she's saying.
Yeah, there's one section in that fucking speech that that I thought was weird, is when she's talking about the rioters and all this other shit. And I was just like, in my head, just losing my shit, because I'm like, you didn't contribute to a bail fund? to let out rioters in Minnesota. Like, you didn't do that? You're acting like that shit didn't happen?
But I thought these were her people. I thought these were her people.
I thought so. I must be confused. Maybe whose people are who, but
me too. Well, I think everybody is at this point.
It was like, well, I guess that didn't happen. Or when she got on camera and she was like, "Oh, we have these things have to continue." You know, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's basically the general quote. The general idea of the quote that she was talking about during the riots was, "These things need to continue. They must continue." You know, so we could reach the solution we want to reach.
Well, and those statements were made during the George Floyd riots, the BLM riots, and they were actually setting up funding for them so they continue to riot. They were basically defunding the police. They were doing everything they could in their power to make sure that the rioters were out of jail as quick as possible and back on the streets. And then fast forward to the DNC.
But who was the governor?
Oh, Mr. Tim Walz.
Tim Walz, yes.
Oh yeah,
the snitch line, the fucking like.
Well, the snitch line was great.
Well, it's not called the snitch line, but it's basically a snitch line.
It's the snitch line.
But there's this. He's him too. He's like, look at me, and then he's like, I'm a sergeant major, or I've carried weapons in war, and then everybody that was served with him was like, no, that didn't happen. This fucking guy never. He left.
Well, you know what's crazy is,
but then he's like walking around going, yeah, but JD Vance didn't do anything either. It's like, what does that mean?
What's crazy is this whole DNC was riddled with protests, and
that was never really reported on.
Well, the first day was heavily reported, but then suppressed, and then all of a sudden, But what my point was going to be is, it's full of protests. These are supposedly her people. She runs on the stance when it comes to the border that will accept everybody, free and fair elections. You don't need IDs. You don't need to prove yourself as being a citizen. If you're here, you can vote for policy, which is a bunch of bullshit. But at the DNC itself, she put walls up, security everywhere, and you can't get in without an ID to identify who you are.
I know, that's the biggest
irony. And there was tons of security everywhere. If these people are mostly peaceful, as they always say, why do you have the heightened security? Why do you have to present IDs to get anywhere you need to be around the DNC if you literally have stated many times that we don't need IDs to vote. We don't need to know where these people come from. And, they can have a voice here in America, even though they're not a citizen, but at your own DNC, there's all these restrictions and guidelines you need to meet to be able to even talk to somebody who's a representative. You have to have press credentials to get an interview. You can't walk through the door without being identified or your bag checked. So isn't that kind of contradictory? Don't you want free, fair, and open America? But when it comes to the DNC, protect me and keep me away from these people? Is that the message?
Yeah. The irony is
crazy, right?
Yeah. What do they call that? Pot, kettle, black shit?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's exactly what it is.
So anyway, that's... Let's get into the fun.
Want to get into it?
Yeah, let's just get this.
So what are we starting with?
We are going to start with Kamala Harris opening up the Joe Biden deal.
So where she pays tribute?
Yes. Which is...
And I want to say this to everybody. We pull these video clips up. We may or may not play them in their entirety. We'll get through as far as we can, or as much as we can stomach anyway. And I'm also going to say this. As much as my brother and I, we may lean conservative, but we do try to stay neutral in our assessment. But lately, it has been very hard to do that. I'm going to be very honest.
Well, these last 8 weeks have been rough.
Yeah, we're going to try, though. We're going to try.
It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
But again, if you've heard my show, you know that I call people out on their shit. And I'll tell you right now, my brother doesn't take any shit. So this is going to be very interesting.
All right, come on.
All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
Lots of cheers. So this is the day one.
I swear Walz acts like he's never seen shit in his life.
Well, he's definitely never seen a crowd that big.
Fuck.
I don't think she could even believe it.
It is so good to be with everyone this evening in this hall and everyone at home. This is going to be a great week. And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible President Joe Biden. who will be speaking later tonight. Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime
Fucking
of
stop it
service
right
to
now.
our nation, and for all.
All right. We didn't even get through the. Jeez.
Okay.
She didn't say anything yet.
Look, okay, she did. She goes, "You're historic. We thank you." Bullshit. You took him out back and you shot him in the head like a horse, and then you fucking threw him overboard, and then you took his job. What do you mean?
I'm not going to argue against that.
Thank you for bullshit. You won't even. This bitch won't. Oh, hold on.
Dang.
Okay.
You got hate, let it out. Wow.
I'm sorry. If he was that great, why would you take his nomination from him?
Well,
He's already at home soaking and pissed about this. Like,
we don't have these other clips, but this is so she's just acknowledging Joe Biden, and she's doing this to save face because Nancy Pelosi was caught already in an interview not just admitting and alluding to, basically saying, yeah, well, we did what we had to do. We had to do something. She literally said that.
Yeah.
When she was questioned about whether or not there was a coup or an overthrow, overthrowing Joe Biden and him being the president, for, presidential nominee, tongue-tied this morning. And so they've already, and even Gavin Newsom basically said the same thing. So they're admitting it, they're not hiding it, but they're not outright saying, yes, we did do this, but we're not saying we didn't, is basically what they're saying.
But the thing that's insane about this, I know, is the back pat. They're patting him on the back like, oh, you did good, Joe. You fucking threw him out off the bridge.
Agreed. Well, let's hear her say some more. Let's get through a little bit more because she just started.
I'm sorry.
Let's take this in a bit. Let's give her a fair chance here.
Sorry.
Let's keep going. Hold on. I'm sure we'll be interjecting plenty. We got quite a few videos and, tons of material to get to.
All you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you.
Forever grateful to keeping his mouth shut, basically.
Thank you, Joe.
Cement shoes down the fucking...
And looking out at everyone tonight, I see the beauty of our great nation. People from every corner of our country and every walk of life are here, united by our shared vision for the future of our country. And this November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward.
Forward where?
With optimism, hope, and faith, so guided by our love of country, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Let us fight for the ideals we hold dear, and let us always remember, when we fight, we win.
All right, now I can stop it. So what's funny about this is I've said this on my show many times, even in discussions with you, and you've even said this. I think between Republicans, true Republicans, Democrats, in terms of actual people living in the United States as far as citizens, that there's very little that separates us. There's a few policies, maybe not even policies, but a few things that separate us, and that's why we lean either Republican or Democrat. But the Democratic Party this whole time, while the Biden administration has basically been the administration of the United States for the last 4 years, has never said this before. In fact, they've always said that we are different people. We don't believe what they believe. Republicans are crazy. They believe in white supremacy, the whole bit. But all of a sudden, we're now one people. But there's only a little bit that separates us. So we really need to come together. All of a sudden, this is the message when it wasn't the message ever. No. She's never stated this. So what's changed? Well, because she's up for election now. All of a sudden, she wants everybody to support her when before she was the one behind driving the wedge between everybody. So that is very crazy. And, she can thank Joe Biden all she wants. But as you said earlier, I mean, it's very evident that they did get behind his back and force him out. He never said he didn't want to run. He was forced to. We woke up one day and all of a sudden it was, oh, Biden's dropping out and Kamala Harris is in. they're trying to make this a campaign of joy and feelings and happiness, and that's basically what she was saying. At the same time, it's like she's standing up here, and she never went through a primary. How was she the nominee? There was like this backdoor secret election amongst the Democratic Party by its representatives to put her in place. That's crazy.
Well,
democracy's on the ballot, right?
They talk about democracy, but they keep doing this shit.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders got punked by the Hillary Clinton and the DNC when he was up about 150 delegates.
That election year, he was ahead of everybody.
Oh,
he was killing the Democratic Party. He was in the lead in every metric, every poll, and they did not want him to be president, and they forced him also to step down.
Twice.
Yes.
Because he was also way ahead, and then they called Joe Biden out of bed.
Yes.
And then they put him in front. And then they did the same thing. And what's crazy is Bernie Sanders accepts that shit. He doesn't talk about it. He's like, yeah, whatever. And then Biden's over here getting the same treatment, and he's sulking. It's like, how are you preaching this democracy horse shit every fucking time and doing this? And people are watching it, and it's like, that's not democracy. In any sense, it's not. You're basically like, well, I don't like that we want a woman president, so Bernie, you got to go. And they were very clear on that. They said it. There's many communications on that during that election that they did not want Bernie at all.
No.
And then when they noticed that Bernie was gaining traction again, and we were going to have a Bernie Trump showdown, then it was like, oh, well, we got to get somebody who's a little more, yes man-ish. So here comes fucking Joe Biden. Yeah. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't.
Well,
and then you throw him overboard.
We didn't play enough of any clip yet to go really deep, but I think what you're pointing out and what I'm pointing out is pretty important, because what gets me more than anything about this whole thing is the fact that she's the nominee without any actual support from the general public. In fact, they did everything they could to market her as the greatest thing ever for the American people after they already told you, the American people, that no, this is who you're voting for. Yeah. This is your representative. You don't got a choice, but don't worry, we're going to make you like her. And that's exactly what they're doing.
She didn't even get out of the primary.
No. When she first ran,
she didn't even win a vote in California.
When she first ran, she didn't even have 3% of the vote. She had less than 3% of the vote and was forced to drop out because nobody would support her.
Here's how this is how you know the Democratic Party is a big pile of nonsense. She gets on the debate stage and calls Joe Biden a fucking racist over the busing issue.
Yes. When she was running against Biden.
She straight calls.
The very first time, yes.
Yes.
She did.
And then when she couldn't get the support, she dropped out. And then then they said, oh, we need to, get inclusive or whatever the fuck. So we need a woman, and she has to be black, which we can't talk about now because that's now racist, even though Biden said we need a woman, black, whatever. So they call her up, and then she goes on Colbert's show, and then he's like, well, you did call him racist. And then she goes, it was a debate. And it's like, okay, so
how does that change things?
What you're telling me is everything you said before that was performative nonsense.
Agreed. And I think that's the problem with our debates, because by her saying that, she's admitting that debates are nothing than trying to win over the crowd by how good your insult is.
Whatever the soundbite, apparently. Yeah.
And that's kind of why, it's not kind of, it is why I believe that we need to get out of this high school president mentality. I feel like right now in politics in America that everybody is running as if they're running for class president rather than the president of the actual United States. There is no policy debates anymore. There hasn't been for quite some time right now, right? Everything's just been about, slinging insults, hiding in your bunker, avoiding media, and then hoping that everybody votes for you. But the best way to prove that you are the people or the person that the people need to elect is by actually debating your fucking opponents and standing behind the policies that you believe in. And thus far, we haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, but and this is why the media gets hit in the face all the time, because I know Colbert's a comic, but that is an opportunity to sit there and go,
Big opportunity.
everything was bullshit before that? So you were lying the whole time. Like, no challenge. It's
And
like,
this coming from a guy who had a political satire show where he literally called people out.
yeah.
And suddenly, no? Don't want to lose his paycheck, I guess?
We haven't even got out of the first clip.
Anyway, I know. Let's move on. So after this acknowledgement and thanking Joe Biden for shutting his mouth and not, saying, hey, I didn't step down and I never supported this. Let's move on to Joe Biden here. And he addresses the party delegates at the DNC. I think we got this at the spot we wanted to start at. So
All right, Joe, hit
we'll
us.
play that clip right now.
Yeah.
It's been my view since I came to the Senate. And that's why I'm proud that I've been the first president to walk a picket line. And be labeled the most pro-union president in history, and I accept it. It's a fact. Because when unions do well, we all do well.
Go ahead. I saw you about to say something.
Unionization in the modern day, modern America, union work has destroyed the economy. We don't all do well. How many times has union contracts gotten so much to the point where the system gets bloated, it pops, and then who bails them out? Democratic presidents. Obama did it. He did it. Obama and Biden did it over the last 20 years.
Yeah. True.
And where are we at now with that?
Well,
Now we got drivers making 60 something bucks an hour,
I'll
or 50 bucks an hour, and then
I'll say this about unions. Okay. I've seen how unions work from the inside, outside, working with them, being a business, the whole deal. And I'll say that for a working person in certain circumstances, unions are great for getting fair pay, right? And making sure there's benefits. But the problem I've seen with unions, as you were saying, in the modern times, in the modern sense, is
they blow up the pension.
the union in turn needs to provide educated workers within their field, technically skilled workers within their field. And most unions these days don't even have a training system anymore. The only ones I really see where, you could really progress by your knowledge and years is really in the construction industry. So like if you're an electrician, you have to start as an apprentice, and then through your skill and training, you pass certain courses and you move up to journeyman, the whole bit. But a lot of these other places that unionize, they do not do that. You move up just based on how many years you've been there, not necessarily whether or not you're skilled or a good employee, but yet you're still getting the pay that the skilled employee gets.
Yeah.
The other thing unions do is they try to hold businesses hostage. Let's just be honest. Great, you want equal pay, but why do you think that almost every 2-3 years your pay should keep doubling?
Yeah.
How do you expect a company to continue to offer you a job, make product, and be profitable enough to keep the doors open when you're doing a remedial task that I can hire anybody to do, but yet you're demanding $50 an hour to do it?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. So I think unions have their place, but unions need to be realistic about their place and how they need to work with big businesses to be able to keep everybody employed, keep the pay scale appropriate, and match the skill level of all workers. But I don't think you should automatically get a pay bump just because you've been there for 20 years. You also have to show a progression in aptitude in your skill level for the job in which you were hired. And unfortunately, that is not always the case. So unions are good in one respect, but they're also really, really trying to kill industry in another.
Yeah.
And we'll get to, in fact, I think we're going to move the auto worker union clip up behind this one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Let's go a little more on this Joe Biden, but it kind of triggered that, you know what I mean?
But what
triggered that response for me?
The thing that unions also do, if they don't get the increase in pay, they always make an attempt to throw it in the back end with the pension. and then the pension gets bloated, and they don't have enough people to fund it, and then they run to the government for subsidies. The government subsidizes it, and then that comes off the taxpayer.
Well,
And then we just go into this vicious cycle of horseshit until the business is no longer operating.
and people who work in unions, where they actually still offer a pension, because even in unions they're starting to get rid of that. So the whole idea, or the whole reason to me for being in a union would be equal pay and pay increases per year based on experience and time. But the biggest thing to me has always been the retirement package, which now even many unions are getting away from. You can't retire on a 401k. You just can't.
No.
You're going to get a good sum of money, absolutely, and that could be used for investments that you can make money on, in other assets, for example, like a house or whatever you want to do. But the retirement package the union used to always offer in a pension was guaranteed pay over the rest of your life based on years of service and how much you put into the account. Problem is, they're getting away from that. And the other thing the unions push is, when they do have the pensions, are that employers are forced to pay 50 to 60% of your pension every time. So if you're getting paid $1,000, they may be paying another $600 to $800 on top of the $1,000 they're paying you in salary for your pension on top of that, plus the employment taxes and everything else. At some point, where is it fair for your employer as well? How is your employer supposed to keep carrying the union and keep unionized labor when they keep trying to make it so expensive that it no longer makes sense to have a union?
I mean, look what's happening.
I mean, this is out. What we're talking about is a bit outside of what's going on with this DNC, but I think it's an important thing to bring up because...
Well, I mean, he said it, and I'm just like...
Well, no, I think it's important because this isn't the first time at the DNC where the unions were touting their support for the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is suddenly the party of the working class.
Oh, but
they were the party of the working class back in the 50s, 60s, and even in the 90s. When the 2000s came, they fucking abandoned the working class for fame and fortune. They didn't care about the unions back then. They didn't care about the working class. Now all of a sudden they're the party of the working class.
Okay, I thought I was gonna sneeze.
Yeah. It's just so hypocritical of them.
You might want to edit that out. Sorry.
Nah, that's all right.
Well, what I was gonna say is they were very selective in their union support as well, because the Teamster guy spoke at the RNC.
Yes, he did.
And they were so pissed that they took him off of the DNC. So they're censoring which union. It's a censorship thing, but
unions have been...
I thought that shit was fun.
Unions have become very political anyway, and most of everything they do these days, and even when they started, is really about getting enough votes and funding to support whoever they want to put in office.
Yeah,
let's just be honest.
That's
what it's been.
Shit.
That's what it's been. It's all lobbying.
Whoever gets them a buck,
let's hear some more Joe Biden.
You got it, man. You got it.
Union strong?
Union Joe.
Oh, Union Joe.
I agree. I'm proud. Look, remember he told we couldn't get anything done because we couldn't get anything done in the Congress? Well, with your support, we passed the most significant climate law in the history of mankind. Over $370 billion. Cutting carbon emissions in half by 2030. Launching a climate corps, similar to AmeriCorps and Peace Corps, creating tens of thousands of jobs for young people of the future who are going to make sure this continues. Creating hundreds of thousands of jobs in clean energy for American workers, including the IBEW installing 500,000 charging stations all across America.
That has not happened.
That
and
did
in the
not
process,
No.
reducing carbon emissions. And we're seeing it. We're seeing to it that the first beneficiaries of environmental initiatives are those fence-line communities that have been smothered by the legacy of pollution. Louisiana and Delaware, Route 9, All the factories, all those chemical factories are right next to the poorest neighborhoods. They're the ones we're going to bring back.
Wait, who?
I think he's saying he's going to bring back those areas where they've been riddled with chemical plants and pollution in those areas is what he's trying to say.
Oh, but did he fix that chemical leak in the other place with the train and all that?
No,
No?
the one that leaked into the river and everything.
Yeah.
No.
But buddy, butt kid couldn't
or the other issues they've been having up in Virginia all these years.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
didn't do that either.
Okay. Just want
And
to check.
how
The
he
butt,
made us.
I want to make sure.
No, yeah,
Butt
right.
kid did not make it down there.
No, it didn't happen. And then
Got it.
And then also, when he said, well, we tried to pass or tried to pass things through Congress. Well, that's something that I'm getting tired of hearing from the Democratic Party because Kamala says that a lot too. The reality is during this whole 4-year period, Kamala is actually the tiebreaker, number one, and two, they have the majority in Congress when you look at seats in both Senate and the House. They could have passed whatever the fuck they wanted to this whole time.
They could have.
They could have passed whatever they wanted to this whole time, and yet they keep blaming it on the Republican Party. You have the majority. Period.
They have the majority in the Senate. She has the tiebreaker in the Senate,
Yes,
and
they could have passed just about anything they wanted to.
that's the whole thing. I guess that was.
And when
my-
it comes to the House,
but that's my original point from the start of this. It's like they act like we don't own a Like, what is it?
but when it comes to the House, how many Republicans, in air quotes here, have been flipped over to vote for whatever the Democratic Party wants?
Especially they got like a 5.
Like I said, they actually do have the
they
majority.
have a 5-seat majority. You can
Yeah.
flip 2 of them anytime you want. It's fucking stupid.
It's they had the ability this whole time.
But fuck
The
all
whole
that.
time.
Fuck all that. The first 2 years of this presidency, they had 100% control. House, Senate, and
Actually,
presidency.
correct.
What the fuck?
First 2 years, that was when they
There
should have.
There was not a voting issue.
If they wanted to, they could have.
They passed.
Yeah, they had a super majority the first 2 years.
They passed the. I guess it's an inflation reduction and infrastructure, whatever. But none of that has produced anything.
They never brought up those accolades because they never happened. What happened to the infrastructure deal?
Nothing's getting built.
Nothing got fixed.
No.
Nothing's getting built.
No. No.
It's just a bunch of fluff and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But listen, it's good to hear Joe Biden because I think he's a traitor. Personally, I've always said that he needs to go and be tried for his crimes against America. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. There's enough evidence, enough reports. You got the Robert K. Hur report. The GOP just landed another one on everyone's desk about everything going on. And I blame the GOP for not even pursuing this because they could have at any time. And when you have a guy who can't even stand trial because he's not mentally fit, but yet somehow is still our president of the United States,
But who?
I don't know what that says about
Well,
America and the Democratic Party.
The 25th Amendment, I believe, can be brought up by the cabinet or the vice president, and they don't want to do it.
Well, no, it's not about the 25th Amendment. 25th Amendment would be the Democratic Party officially ousting him out so that they could put Kamala in place as the actual president.
I know. What
Okay?
I'm saying is they don't want. I know they
But
don't
what
want.
I'm talking about is them actually going after him and putting him on trial. Like they could impeach him and then put him on trial for all those crimes. They have the evidence, they have the tapes, they have the testimonies. They don't want to. So that's what I was saying was
No, what I'm saying is she has that opportunity with the cabinet because if he's not fit to run for office because of his mental whatever from the debate, then you would assume that they would move him out of that other office.
They won't do it. And I agree with you because you're right. They have that opportunity.
But they want that buffer.
They exactly.
Because I guarantee you
that's why they don't do it.
In Trump's debate with her, he's going to say, "You're the vice president. Why didn't this happen?" And she will say, "Joe Biden's the president. I have no control over final say."
Okay, so that's number one. They want the buffer.
Yep.
You're correct. Number two, they don't want to make it blatantly obvious they're pushing him out.
Yeah, they want to give him his gold watch. And
They
his
want the
fucking-
people to
yeah.
feel sympathetic towards Joe. Good job, Joe. You're awesome. Thank you so much, right? The claps. And while they're doing this, they're pushing Kamala up behind him. They've already stabbed him in the back more than once. Now they're leading him around, the White House like a dog on a leash.
They fucking sent him to California after this speech right here.
Right. So you're right. They want the buffer. so that Kamala's not directly blamed for anything. So she has an out.
Deniability, whatever you want to
And
call it.
two, they don't want to make it so blatantly obvious that, yes, we're pushing this guy out of the way.
It's pathetic. I'm sorry.
All right. So
Let's
that
go to
being said,
yeah, that's Hillary.
everybody always goes, "Oh, I feel sorry for Joe." I don't feel sorry for Joe. He made 27-something million off selling influence and peddling secrets and whatnot and access to foreign nations. So fuck him.
I still don't understand.
I have no respect for this guy.
I still don't understand how his book deal made millions.
And I don't understand going, beyond that. How do you remain a career politician for over 50 years and haven't achieved one fucking thing outside of plagiarism and lies?
He didn't even, okay. I did research on this way back in the Wayback Machine on the pod. He only showed up for 25% of the floor vote. He was never in the fucking Senate. He was always absent for votes. Anytime it came down to, so where the fuck did he go?
I don't know, and it makes you wonder why Obama even chose him as a vice president when he was a president.
We all need a stooge.
They just needed that white guy.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that. Let's move on to Hillary. Look, I mean, I can't feel sorry for Joe.
We can
I
do
really
6
can't.
hours of Joe Biden.
Oh yes, we
God
can.
Damn.
But we're tearing this thing apart. Reality is, the DNC so far, from what we've seen, and we have inside info from covering this for a while. They're just a bunch of bullface liars. I mean, the fact that Kamala's even the nominee is the biggest fucking lie and cover up of all. It's right there in everyone's faces, and nobody wants to see past the fact that she's the nominee. Why is she the nominee? I don't know. Why are you voting for her? She makes me happy and I'm joyful. Great. What are her policies?
Well, she's never.
I don't know.
She's never really stated it.
So why are you voting for her? Why is everybody saying they're voting for her?
The excuse is a better option than Trump.
A better option than Trump.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm a CEO of a company, and I didn't make enough profit the last quarter. I missed the mark by maybe 5%. So your option is to hire a 3-year-old to run the company. Understood. Because it makes you laugh. It's a joyous occasion.
Just to watch it
fuck out of here.
Watch that kid fuck up the blocks.
All right, let's go on to Hillary. So Hillary on the first day, I noticed she had a way bigger reaction than Kamala. Now, what's funny, I was talking to last night, actually, I was talking to Jesse over there from the Jesse Rosinski show, and we brought this up, and he goes, yeah, they have to clap for her, because if they don't, she'll hang them all. And I don't think he's wrong.
No.
I mean, how many people have ended up
dead,
supposedly committing suicide in her wake? I don't know.
I know.
Jeez. All right, let's play this clip from Hillary. She's going ahead and address the crowd here, and
it's basically her introduction. We're about which I thought was as hilarious as you describe it. So,
this is one of the clips you want to bring up. I'll let you go ahead. I'll play this, and you just tell me when you want me to stop.
No,
this.
it's only a minute, so let's play the whole thing.
All right.
As a prosecutor, Kamala locked up murderers and drug traffickers. She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room.
These people are stupid. Lock him up. 34 felonies based on supposedly not writing exactly where the money went in his ledger book. Based on a conviction by supposedly his peers when the judge actually said, you don't actually have to majority vote on this. If either of you feel that he may be convicted, it's a conviction. Like,
I get
I don't want to go too deep into that. We all know it was a bunch of bullshit.
I get
but
so fucking tired of hearing how he got convicted by a jury of his peers.
He
You
didn't.
can get a fucking speck of dust convicted in New York. It doesn't fucking matter. It's so fucking liberal and ridiculous over there. And why do you think they're all trying cases in New York against him? Because they can get it done.
Of course.
Exactly.
And when 100% of the jury wasn't even in agreement and you still get a conviction, that makes no sense. You're supposed to have 100% agreement.
Why? It's like Eugene.
If there's doubt, then you go back to the drawing board and you reevaluate the evidence until you all come to a
That's what I'm
conclusion.
saying. It's like they talk about the shit, but it's like you can get anything convicted in New York. It's fucking retarded.
So let's talk about what Hillary's saying here, because they're all yelling law come up. Do we need to go back to Benghazi, where she literally ignored the pleas from Americans who needed help and they all pretty much ended up dead?
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Nothing happened. When they were probing her and doing an investigation, somehow she bleached her servers and everything went away.
That's
And she was holding that information, not even in a secured government facility.
in her own house.
In her own fucking house.
What's even worse, what's crazy about that is it's in front of your fucking face and everybody's like, eh. But this dude, line item incorrectly, not time to throw him in a fucking cell for about 30 years.
Well, and even beyond that, all of that took place in a timeline which had zero to do with what they're trying to tie it to.
I know.
It was not suppressing information in an election period. Like, seriously?
That
How much has been suppressed in this election
when
it came to the Democratic nominee? How much has not come out, or whenever something tries to come out, they attack it right away and suppress it?
What Hillary did is blatant suppression of information, law breaking, you name it, she did it. And she's like,
Her whole career.
Yeah. Anything that ran through the Clinton Foundation was a fucking disaster. Anyway, it's not really about her per se.
It's not about her, but
it's just you're listening to that whole minute and you're just like.
But this is exactly what represents the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
It's that whole thing where do you own a fucking mirror?
Yes, the issue here and why it's important to talk about it is exactly what you said. Are you holding up a mirror? It's like, how is this okay and acceptable, and you let it slide, even though everybody knows, but yet, look, I get not everybody likes Trump. He's got his own personality.
Yeah,
he doesn't have much filter when he talks. I get it. He doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy all the time. Cool.
I don't want my president to make me warm and fuzzy.
Does he get it done? Yes, that's the thing.
I want him to do his job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for someone to collect a salary for 50 years, Joe Biden, and do nothing. Where you have Donald Trump, who, when he was president, didn't even collect a salary.
Just to even talk, even if you want to dive into elections, the election side of it, because this is only a clip, but in the speech he does talk about the election denial shit, and it's like, okay, how did you get elected in New York as a senator? You rented a house. You don't even fucking live there. You you cooked the books to get you on the ballot.
Yes, she faked her residency to be able to get on the ballot so that she could run.
Yeah, I call it cooking the books. But yeah, aren't you fucking with the system too? Like,
and didn't her opponent end up dead?
Well, yeah. No comment.
I mean, again, suicide, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Involuntarily losing life.
No, with voluntarily. Would that be murder? So, even with all this being said, I'm gonna just make a comment so far, because we haven't played a lot of the speeches, but I'll say this for everyone listening. I know that we're cutting a lot of it out because it's kind of hard to get through when you hear bullshit. But when I went through before this episode and listened to a lot of it, I got to say that it was pretty polished. Like, speeches are good from a standpoint of delivering a speech. They have their shit together. They're making their points. They sound very professional in what they're doing, except for a couple of people who I won't name. But they're definitely sticking to the script. They're definitely sticking to the script. And so from the outside looking in, without us bringing up these opposing views, opinions, and fact checks, the average person who doesn't dive deep like we do can hear all of this and easily be swayed. And I think that's the issue that we really need to address, because we got to get people to stop taking things for face value. It's like, there's social media people that have been going out and literally questioning people. kind of what I was saying earlier about Kamala Harris. It's like, well, why do you support Kamala Harris? Oh, well, I just think, like I said earlier, she just makes me feel happy. And then when they asked them about, well, what policy do you support? Well, I don't know. Like literally, I don't know.
I mean, there's also a lot of political shows left on the left side of the aisle. Your Pod Saves and America guys.
Look, that whole crooked media network.
Yeah.
Let's just be what they just need to say who they are. They are liberal Democratic shills. That's it.
Yeah, but
all their shows are made up of hosts who had inside information and connections from within the Democratic Party.
Yeah. I'm
not afraid to say it.
I'm just listing the ones that have the shows that say a lot of this shit. God, I lost my thought. Fuck it, move on. I was working on something and then I got derailed. Okay, I got it. Okay, so
he's back.
I'm back. I'm feeling hot and blood pressure's up. That's got to be what it is.
Well, it is starting to get warm in here.
What I was going to say is a lot of these guys, your crooked medias, your Ezra Kleins, all that shit.
Yeah.
Every day that they cover the DNC or just the last 8 weeks in general, all of them are only talking about how she has brought happiness back to the party. They're all talking about how joyful it is to just walk around and be smiling again. They do cover some of the stuff that she says where they're like, well, she said she's going to bring back housing and build more houses. How? They don't get into it. And there's a lot of that type of shit where it's like, I'm going to be tough on the border. How? No, there's no explanation. They just go, oh, she said this. But these guys are all in the political game. They're all in the news game. Wouldn't you want, I mean, she hasn't done a presser in like 35 days. Wouldn't you want to know what the fuck is going on? I mean, let the voters decide. I mean, they're obviously, we want to talk about election rigging. I mean, this is an example of that. You know.
Well, yeah, and
that's kind of where I was going with it.
This is something I was going to kind of save for later, but you're right. This whole campaign has been a campaign ran on joy and vibes, being a woman, being black, and abortions.
And hope.
And
we need hope.
Oh, well, and hope for abortions too, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so
they had an abortion clinic right outside that.
I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very weird.
So it's all about hopes, joy, vibes. Primarily, that's like 90% or actually 60% of what they're running on. The other 40% is on abortions.
They also said this other shit too, that all the foreign leaders, they would rather have Trump over Harris because they can manipulate Trump. Based on these last 8 weeks, I would love to have Harris walking around in my house going, everything is happy. And I would love that.
It's stupid for them to push the message because we were never there were wars, but there weren't new wars. All right. And Trump being who he was, like they're trying to say, or she actually said, I'm not going to cozy up to dictators and tyrants.
What are you doing now?
What you're missing the mark in what Trump was doing. He was creating relationships. Okay. And you have to have respect amongst enemies. If you don't have respect, they're not going to basically, respect you, which means they don't give a fuck if they fire a missile at you or not because they don't respect you. They don't think that you're going to be anything they need to worry about, as has been evident with Joe Biden's administration. Look at all the shit going on in the world right now with Joe Biden in place.
Yeah.
And Kamala's part of that. And she never wants to tie herself to Joe Biden, you notice, as she's running, but she's a big part. She's second in fucking command. Like, how are you getting a pass? If you thought Joe Biden needed to do something, for example, that was good for America in terms of foreign policy and how you feel about, continuing wars and everything, why are you not stepping up, grabbing Joe Biden's ear, which you guys are probably already doing anyway, and telling him what to do, but why are you not stepping up and trying to guide him and pushing him in the direction that makes sense for our country? What exactly are you doing as vice president?
Hillary said she was in the situation rooms, so she obviously was there.
Of course she's there. She has full access and full ability to influence and make change as it is right now, and she hasn't been doing it. Let's play more fucking Hillary.
No, that's it. There's only like
That's
2
all you want? You
Yeah.
don't want more Hillary?
No, there's only 2 seconds left.
Oh, okay.
It was just a short, her talking.
Oh, I see. You pulled a short clip. Got it.
It was just her ranting about how,
Got it. So
Trump should be whatever, but.
Oh, I wanted to go over this here. So this kind of ties into exactly what we were talking about with the hope and joy campaign and everything.
Making her happier than she needs to be.
So the one thing I've noticed about Kamala Harris and the whole DNC, by the way, all 4 days, and also how she's been running, but specifically the DNC, there hasn't been one person who spoke about her accomplishments and achievements as a vice president. Not one. Not that I can recall.
You got to have them first. I mean,
but if you're running for president and you're running on the basis of experience, you're already in office, you're in the White House, why has it been thus far nothing about your achievements and your record as a vice president be brought up? I mean, wouldn't you think your previous job's experience would be heavily weighted against the job you're applying for?
theoretically, but they do talk about her quote unquote achievements in California more than anything else.
And that's the problem. So you're talking about something she did years ago, and she wasn't even good at that job. She, as a black woman, by the way, as she's running, based on being black and a woman and trying to tie herself to the black community, she jailed more black people than anybody in California.
Yes.
She even held them in
longer than they
needed to. Why? Because of prison labor that they were using, and they were using them for prison labor. Those two things right there, how does that not contradict her running on the fact that she is a joyous, happy black woman?
She also withheld evidence in certain cases as well.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
She intentionally did that.
Yeah, and she
just to get a conviction.
Yeah, and she had
remember her stance in California against drugs and marijuana? She convicted so many people of marijuana, even if it was a minor offense, but she herself was enjoying smoking marijuana during that entire time.
Yeah.
And she even laughed at the question on multiple times when she was asked about it, because she herself was enjoying and partaking in smoking marijuana while she was putting people in fucking jail for it.
Yeah, that's all I can say, because it's true. I mean, can't. There's nothing to add to that. I mean, she fucking.
So this next clip,
there's even parts where she released prisoners because of overcrowding or certain areas. She released a lot of violent or non-violent, however you want to say it, back into the population. Most of them recommitted crime and went back.
Yeah, I actually remember that.
Like
when they were emptying the jails.
Yeah, it was the prison reform thing that she was putting together, because we had a new way of policing.
So this is her record. Okay, as a prosecutor, by the way, everybody, we live in California. We remember. We don't forget. We know. And the next time I'm going to play is
and they also say it's racist. It's also racist and sexist to bring up how she got her start, but I think it's relevant.
It's relevant. I'm not going to dive too deep into it here. Everybody knows.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's relevant.
Everybody knows. I'm not going to get too graphic, but I'm just going to say everybody knows.
Yes.
And this clip I'm going to play during the DNC. Now, these people that are speaking, this isn't the first time they brought this up, but they never bring up her achievements as a vice president, but they somehow, on more than one occasion, more than once, people have brought up her character, and they always bring up examples from when she was in elementary school. I mean, elementary school. How much changes from being a child that's 8, 10 years old to when you become an adult? A lot happens to you in your character and your beliefs. You go from elementary to middle school to high school, and then all of a sudden you get into college. And once you get into college, you're either radicalized and your views are affected and changed, or you remain a strong person based on the characters that the character you became based on what you were taught by your parents. Unfortunately, what everybody doesn't talk about is her parents, in particular, her father was a Marxist economist, but, let's just gloss over that. So,
Donald J. Harris.
Yeah. Let's play this clip and let's hear about how amazing she was in elementary.
Kamala has always been a protector. One day at school, we made clay art projects. During story time, when they were outside on tables, to dry. For whatever reason, a boy in our class took mine, threw it on the ground, and it shattered. Kamala jumped in between him and me and said something that made him so mad, he picked up a rock or something and hit her on the head. Blood came streaming down. The school called Shamala to come take her to the hospital. The stitches she got left a scar over one of her eyes. She still has it. That's the kind of person Kamala has always been from the very beginning. Someone who doesn't hesitate to stand up for what's right, to take up for the underdog, and to stand up to bullies.
So what do you think so far about talking about someone's character but referencing who you were when you were a child?
Well, personally, I feel like she's lying
Why?
because she can't get through that thing.
Can't get through what?
She,
You're talking about her statements?
yeah, no, the presentation, she can't get through it. I don't know if she's nervous, but I don't find it credible.
You don't find it credible?
Little Kamala picked up a rock or something and hit a guy with something, and fuck you talking about?
Yeah, she stood up.
She's standing up to oppression
I guess
as a little girl.
right.
Okay.
And that's the backstory. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is you're an adult running for a position as an adult where
And
you're going to
she's
lead the free world.
Yeah,
and
she's
we're talking
never-
about what you did in elementary school.
Yeah, she's never been standing up for oppression in middle school, high school.
So is this an example of them not able to find any real examples of her character and achievements that they have to go so far back to elementary school to try to establish her character?
Or that's just the best story they have.
Yeah.
Because she does talk about why she wanted to be a prosecutor is because she told someone who was getting abused to live with her.
Yes.
And that was
I think they say that later on.
That was in high school.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we got. We got two.
You want to keep playing this or move on, or what do you think? Do we need more of this?
I don't
clip?
need any more of that horseshit.
Well, I played it because it was interesting that
No, I get what you're going
they're
with.
saying it.
I get,
It's interesting that this is kind of like you said, all they had. I didn't hear anything. You know, I guess they talk about her being a prosecutor, but it's funny. You go from elementary school
to
and what
prosecutor.
motivated her to be a prosecutor, and then prosecutor. Fast forward, prosecutor, which we've already established that she didn't do much as a prosecutor, and how she got there is extremely well. It's not questionable. We know what she did and how she got there,
But I also find it interesting that she skips that every time. She skips how she got there.
so she doesn't want to address that.
She skips how she got her first job in politics, which was like it was a volunteer type thing.
Just ask Willie Brown.
But why are you skipping that? That's how you got there.
I'm surprised no one's interviewed Willie Brown about that.
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Holy shit. They should.
They should. Someone needs to.
But no honest person will.
No.
No, they're all fucking like. And no honest person would. No, an honest person would. Wait, I fucked that up.
No,
Is that how you say it?
well, you said no honest person would.
Oh God, this is gonna.
I kind of agree with you because if you're an honest, wholesome person, you don't want to talk about that subject matter. But I think that it should be talked about. I think
Okay.
that if we're going to
right.
give someone so much power and we're talking about their character, and you got to go all the way back to elementary school to establish that she was a good person, why can't, I'll just say it. Why can't we talk about how she was sucking cock to the top? Why can't we do that? Why can't we talk about how she had an affair with a guy who was almost, twice her age at least almost, and was married at the time, and she was the girl on the side, basically. She was the side piece, okay? Why can't we talk about the rumors of how she was being used basically almost in a prostitutorial fashion to try to sway judges to make certain decisions in cases before she became prosecutor? We're not talking about those things, but we should. If we're going to talk about her character, why aren't we talking about those things? They want to talk about Clinton's character and everything he did. They want to talk about his family and everything he did in the past, but we can't talk about Kamala Harris. Why? Because she's a woman, and we can't talk about those things when it relates to a woman. She pursued Willie Brown. Willie Brown did not pursue her. Can we talk about Montel Williams at all? What's she doing chasing Montel Williams around? Because her hunger for fame and getting a leg up in the world, in her eyes, I guess that's just how you do it.
I was just gonna say it in a sentence, but I guess we can go Montel. But the pushback has always been that affair didn't affect her election as AG or whatever.
Really, because it's very coincidental how after that affair and how they broke up, suddenly she was put into a higher position of office in California when she had zero experience for it.
Right. But how do you get there? How do you get there? Who your fucking gives you a volunteer gig, then appoints you into the health department.
And I said it more than once. Is it a coincidence if it always happens to be a coincidence? At that point, is it not a pattern of fact?
Exactly. And how do you? I don't know. She's.
I could tell you're just frustrated by the situation because who isn't?
It's fucking retarded.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you.
If you're, I said this with the wife, and she got mad. I said straight up. So any decent American would be pissed off watching this fucking 4-day event. Just would. I'm not going to even use the word gaslighting. Just the straight lying. It is lying. The straight omission of the truth is a better, I guess you want to say, if you can say it that way. But you're watching this speech that she gives, and you're like, no. If this is true, why didn't you do it now? If this is true, how did this not happen then? And then Bill Clinton gets up there and talks, and you're like, don't talk about integrity. You were getting your dick sucked in the Oval Office. You were on Epstein's island getting massages from 12-year-olds. Don't talk about integrity to me. Don't Hillary getting up there saying her bullshit. It's like, come on, you were bleaching hard drive. Shut the fuck up.
Absolutely.
It's like, you can't watch this and go, yeah, I'm into it. I'm happy. I'm joyous. Sure. Nancy Pelosi's bullshit with her stock trade. You can't sit there and it just irritates the piss out of me. And it's like, if you were a good, honest, moral, decent American, you would not vote for this.
Well, and we're going to get to the next clip here in a minute because I'm not going to play her actual acceptance speech on the 4th day because I kind of went over that, but I'm going to transition to this next clip in saying this. In that speech that Kamala Harris gave on the 4th day, her acceptance speech and closing, that she really tried to establish through the first quarter that she is every American.
No, she's not.
She came from a family of immigrants. She came from a family of a black and brown person. She was also a child of divorce. She moved around a lot, couldn't get situated, hard to make friends. I mean, everything you could think of that anybody in this nation would go through, she suddenly somehow was that person. She even lived in a working class neighborhood with nothing but blue collar workers who were all her family friends. I mean, how thick can you lay this? How big of a net can you cast?
That part right there is absolutely funny. I lived in a neighborhood of electricians, plumbers. She starts listing all these jobs, right?
She does.
None of them are poverty-driven jobs.
No, none of those are.
But then she talks about, and then she follows it up by going, we had to live on a budget. We were running low on money.
What family doesn't live on a budget?
I was like, but then how are you living in a neighborhood full of 6-figure jobs?
Look, we can, I'm sure we could, being as intelligent as we may be, or I think we are, and we're not stupid, let's just put it that way, that being an immigrant and being a part of a household where you have a single mother who is from India, I'm sure it was tough, in those times. But let's not cover up the fact that she came to America to continue her education as a scientist, which means she got a government subsidized visa to be here and continue her education.
Yep.
So the other thing that she brought up in her 4th day DNC speech and closing arguments or remarks was how she was taught about the civil rights movement and how her parents had to go through the civil rights era. Bullshit.
They never.
Your father's Jamaican, your mother's Indian. They came from other countries here.
They never lived
on education vouchers, right? Given the opportunities that Black Americans going through the civil rights era didn't get.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They never lived it.
But this is what I'm going to say. Her parents, I agree with what they did. They taught her about it. It's good that she did learn about it. As an American, you should know those things. But stop trying to act like you're connected to all this because you weren't.
No, she never was. The whole family wasn't.
She's every American. Oh, no. I connect with everybody. Whatever your life was, I've been there. I've done that. Like, that's a bunch of bullshit. So here we go.
Hold on. No.
So here we go. Moving on to DL Hughley, because
Because he's a fucking moron.
Because Kamala,
Because
by all means,
we need a stand-up comic.
is black, and she's from the black community, and she's so connected with the black community, and she grew up a black person, although even though her father was, divorced the mom and basically was raised by her Indian mother, but that's okay. But let's hear DL Hughley talk. Let's go ahead. Come on, DL, make us laugh.
Hey now, hey Chicago, how y'all doing? What's happening, California? Now, wait, where those AKAs at? Where they at? You know what? In 3 months, ain't gonna be no living with y'all. I can tell you this, I don't blame Donald Trump for not wanting to debate Kamala. I've been married to a black woman for 40 years and I ain't won one debate.
Donald Trump has not denied a debate.
No.
I don't know where he got this information. Kamala's the one that won't debate him. In fact, she won't do so unless it's specifically done on a specific network with specific people moderating it.
Well, the reason this has become a thing is because Joe Biden is gone. So whatever was agreed to based on Joe Biden. So Donald Trump is like, we're not doing that. We're going to do it a different way. So that's where they believe he's running from her.
Well, there's that, but he's also proposed how many dates that she turned down?
He's proposed
4.
4.
I thought it was 4.
The ABC debate is the original with Biden, so that's still there. Then he proposed 3 others.
Mm-hmm.
The one's coming up September 4th. She has rejected all of them except ABC, and I think one in October, which is right after early voting, when most states are cast half their ballots by then.
Again, I can't believe we're going through 2 elections now where the presidential nominees are running from each other, or at least the Democratic nominees are, and refuse to debate on policy.
Yeah. And what's crazy is he fucking knows that. I know he knows that.
And then if you want to go back to the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the 2020 election,
yeah,
Joe Biden didn't even debate. All he did was shut the hell up, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Never gave an intelligent response to any of their questions.
So Trump was like, fuck it, and he just went after it.
Yeah.
Because what are you gonna do? You gotta do something. I just that the infuriating thing is these fucking guys know it. This guy knows full well the debate situation.
Well, let's hear more about what the comedian thinks.
I'm owing 93,000.
It's because you're dumb.
Now, of course, Trump is saying that Kamala isn't black. I guarantee you this, Kamala's been black a lot longer than Trump's been a Republican.
Okay, so that statement is what I was waiting for. Let's break that down. What Trump is saying, and what many people are saying, is she has never claimed to be black this entire time. She's always claimed to be Indian. She's always claimed to be Indian, period. What Trump is getting at, what many Republicans are getting at, is she was never part of the black community. That's a different thing. It doesn't mean her skin tone. That's not what we're talking about. She never lived and was part of the black community, period. Now she's suddenly part of the black community.
Well, you need the votes.
When she was running in 2016, she claimed to be what? Indian.
Yeah, because they had a CNN.
She didn't claim to be black.
CNN had a whole thing about cooking Indian food and her walking around.
She never claimed to be black. She never wanted to run on being black until Biden suddenly needed a black woman.
And she needed to be black for the racist busing comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. That's one. Again, that's what infuriates me is these guys are smart enough to know what he's talking about when Trump says, well, she came in saying she was Indian, and then all of a sudden she's saying she's black. I didn't even know she was black until she said she was.
Exactly.
The whole time I thought she was Indian. What do you think he's actually getting at? He's obviously talking about her shifting, identities, if you will.
She claims identity and race based on convenience. Period.
And J.D. Vance did the same thing. He goes, it's obvious what he was getting at. She's constantly flipping depending on who she's talking to.
True.
Just to gain whatever support that she has or needs or whatever. And I know he knows that. I know they all interpret it that way. And then again, that's where it gets more infuriating.
And she
It's
should
like,
have said from the very beginning, if she really cared about her identity and if it was really important to her to be part of the black community, she could have easily just this whole time around the facts that she could say, I am a black Indian American.
Yeah.
Done.
I mean,
Done. No one's questioned her skin tone. You could see her skin tone. No one said you ain't black.
her sister.
You're just not part of the black community.
Even her sister is dark.
Absolutely.
Is
And-
darker
but
than
most
her,
Indians
though.
are dark.
Yeah,
Indians
so
have
it-
darker skin.
But the thing but it's blah.
Well, okay, Indians from India. I want to clarify that because I don't want
Yeah.
people to get confused about Native American versus India. So she's Indian from India. Her mother's from India.
Yes.
So
yes.
no one said she wasn't black. Did you say that? Did I say that? Did any of the media ever say that? No. Did Donald
No.
Trump say she wasn't black in skin color? No. He's referring to her being part of the black community in which she didn't grow up in and wasn't a part of.
Or never said she was a part of herself. And that
She never claimed it before.
that's the part again, that's the infuriation.
And when she was a prosecutor, she jailed more black men than anybody. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The
Yeah,
percentages are there.
I got nothing because it is what it is. It's just
All right, let's
like I
go,
said,
DL.
That's just
Let's hear some more
that's
DL.
where my infuriation.
See where DL goes
you
here.
know.
And if he keeps sliding in the polls the way he is, the only way he can keep Kamala out of the White House is if he buys it and refuses to rent it to her.
All right, that's funny. We'll give him that one.
No, it's not.
That's it.
Of course, Kamala's getting broad support. They got black men for Kamala, white men for Kamala, Latinos and Asians for Kamala. They even have Republicans for Kamala.
Why can't it just be Americans for Kamala? See, that's the Democratic Party. Why they got to
Republicans for
segregate everybody
Kamala.
all the time?
I guess Donald Trump will finally know what it's like when you get left for a younger woman.
Right? Why does the Democratic Party always have to be the ones to segregate everybody and put them in these little boxes, right?
It's not even.
Can it just be people?
It's
Like,
not
can it
even-
just be
it-
the American people voting for who they want, not the black people, the Latino people, the Asian people? Like, aren't we all just Americans? Allegedly, supposedly, isn't that
Honestly, that's the most racist shit I've ever heard.
absolutely racist?
I mean, now you're putting everybody in boxes.
Absolutely.
I thought that was a thing you were against.
Only when it's convenient.
Right.
All right, your favorite, Michelle Obama.
And his and I'm sorry, but D.L. Hewley's jokes, he's never been funny. He's got the same shtick every fucking time.
Well, we're not rating comedians here,
sorry.
but agreed.
Yeah,
I do have to say those two jabs were funny, regardless of what party they're backing. They were funny. At least there was something there.
all right.
Okay, let's watch some Michelle Obama, the defining light in the Democratic Party here.
Yes, the future.
The future.
No, maybe.
The flame bearer, right?
torch
Torchbearer.
There
There you go. The torchbearer. There
God
you go.
damn it, we'll nail this.
We'll get there. I mean, if we didn't have bad tasting energy drinks and coffee that didn't have enough caffeine, I mean, I think we'd be good. But right
No,
now,
that's-
we're powering through. We're powering
fine.
through.
We're fine.
All right, here we go. Michelle Obama.
My mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life. She believed that all children, all people have value, that anyone can succeed if given the opportunity. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed. They understood that it wasn't enough for...
Well, we didn't get far in that speech. Go ahead.
This is also a running theme with Democrats that fucking annoy the piss out of me.
Go for it.
All right. Okay, so if you're going to fucking sit here and say that be suspicious of rich people because they take more than they need, right? How could you sit here and say that? You own houses all over the fucking place. You got Netflix deals of hundreds of millions of dollars. You got into office with zero. You walked out with 120 million. What the fuck are we talking about?
Well, and the fact that if we're just talking about the Obamas, but specifically Michelle Obama, she made a living and got extremely wealthy on her own just from being the president's wife.
Yes, and
she didn't do anything. She wasn't in office. I mean, I'm not saying being a president's wife isn't a hard thing to deal with, but in terms of policy and running the country, you're not it. I'm sorry.
And that podcast, Shine a Light deal with Amazon was a ridiculous amount of money.
Didn't even last, did it?
It's still there, but she hasn't done it. Yeah, it's active, but I haven't. Anyway, don't sit there and say they be suspicious. They take more than they need when you're fucking taking money hand over fist year after year after year. But it's like listening to Bernie talk, and he's over there with 3 lake houses and millions of dollars. Shut the fuck up.
The Obamas got rich and famous through their position in politics. Period. They're making all of this money just because he was a former president and is still active in the background running the Democratic Party.
But he's also a candidate that didn't win anything.
No.
It
all started back with the Oprah Winfrey endorsement.
He was an activist
in Chicago. Okay. He came out of nowhere. He had no real political history.
Was he? He was an activist, right?
Yeah.
And then he got...
He didn't have a real history of politics. It was a very short history, and the only reason he was elected is because it was time where they were wanting a black president.
He also didn't finish his Senate term.
No,
you got not even a year into it.
They wanted a black president. Okay, he checked all the boxes, and then when they got Oprah Winfrey to endorse him, America got behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. Okay, nobody cares if you're a black president. I think we should have had a black president a long time ago, and Obama's really good at representing himself. He talks well. He's slick. Like, let's be honest. He looks and sounds presidential, and you know he's not an idiot. Do we agree with his policies and what he did to this country? No. But he represents himself well. I mean, he looks and sounds like a president. He's a smart individual, so you got to give it to him. But we can't listen to Michelle over here talk about inequality of wealth and getting equal opportunity when to this day they keep taking and taking and taking.
So we shouldn't trust her based on what she just said.
And I think this is important to bring up because this is a theme of the Democratic Party. It's all about inequality, equal opportunity, but everybody up here who speaks themselves are all ultra wealthy. And we all have to question where they got their money. I mean, how's Nancy Pelosi basically a fucking billionaire because of insider trading from her position in Congress and getting inside information? And she laughs at people when they question her on it.
The big loophole is it goes through her husband because he's not an elected official.
It's still insider fucking trading.
But it's still in the
Martha Stewart went to jail for this.
Yes.
Martha fucking Stewart. Like, seriously.
I know. Go ahead.
More Michelle.
Their kids to thrive if everyone else around us was drowning. So my mother volunteered at the local school. She always looked out for the other kids on the block. She was glad to do the thankless, unglamorous work that for generations has strengthened the fabric of this nation. The belief that if you do unto others, if you love thy neighbor, if you work and scrape and sacrifice, it will pay off. If not for you, then maybe for your children or your grandchildren.
All right, give me an example in recent times where Democrats love their neighbors.
Never.
Where the ultra far left people love their neighbors.
Never.
If you have a disagreement of opinion, you're a piece of shit.
And you go straight to court.
Right? They don't want anything to do with you and they cut you off.
Yeah. I mean,
so give me the example of where there's the love that you love the neighbor if you see the pride flag hanging. Got it. They're acceptable.
Yeah, as long as the ideas line up.
But if I bring up the Second Amendment and we thought have that discussion, oh, fuck you, you're a crazy right-wing motherfucker and I don't want nothing to do with you and you're a piece of shit. Got it. So that's loving your neighbor, right?
Right. And then she starts.
So it's acceptance within the guidelines of acceptance that they set, but if you're outside those guidelines, they don't have to love you.
No.
Got it.
But the other crazy thing she said was, not letting kids drown around you or not letting people fall, basically. Your kids go to the most expensive schools in the country. Why are you stopping school choice? Because that's one of the things that you did.
That's an excellent point.
That's one of the things that the Obama administration did.
Yeah.
They did not want school choice. They did not want the vouchers or whatever.
Yeah. And one of the reasons Trump made a statement about abolishing the education system, and he's not saying get rid of the education system.
Well,
he's talking about getting rid of the oversight or the education department at the federal level.
What he wants to do, at least what he says he wants to do, obviously we'll see. Politicians are politicians.
Of course.
But he basically wants to put a lot of stuff back in the state power.
So
it's education, it's abortion rights. It's,
right.
He
wants to lessen the burden
on the federal
side.
government.
And what people, I'm glad we're actually talking about this.
And
because
the FDA is another thing. Robert Kennedy did his little speech talking about it, and Trump endorses the idea. So limiting the federal power of the FDA and putting the food and health back into the state level,
which makes sense because
I don't have a problem with it. 99% of what is said there is I'm fine with it.
The regulation of food makes sense to be at the
state level. Let it
at the regionally, because foods
are
vegetables are grown regionally, right? That makes sense.
Now, I don't have a problem with that.
I'm glad you're talking about this because,
but you know who has a problem with it?
People are missing
every fucking federal lobbyist. And,
of course. Yeah. But people are missing the point in what Trump means when he says these things. He's trimming the fat. Okay, the reason where we're at right now with our economy is government overspending. Okay, so this is the way I look at education at the federal level. Do we need an education department at the federal level? Yes, but what should it be? Just an oversight committee. We don't need an entire fucking department with multiple employees in buildings that they're paying for, when it really just needs to be an oversight committee to make sure that everybody's curriculum is meeting a certain standard. That's all we need. We don't need it to be as big as it is.
No.
Before 1976, when Jimmy Carter signed it into law, it was at the state level. Okay. But then Jimmy Carter's the one who pushed the national, oversight of education at the federal level, but it got out of control. It is way bigger than it needs to be at this point. It needs to be brought back and reduced to being an oversight committee, period. Same thing with the FDA. Do we need the FDA as big as it is? Fuck no. Fuck no. So Trump is talking about trimming the fat is what he's really talking about. And all everyone hears is, oh, he wants to make America stupid. He don't want people to be educated. Oh, he doesn't care about safety and health in our food. Really? You want to talk about the FDA and how they let, red dye number 5 in our foods and how they let, pesticides from Monsanto and Bayer be sprayed on our foods that you can't even wash off, and how Bill Gates made this, this new pesticide that actually creates a layer around your fruits that doesn't come off with soap and water. So every time you cut with a knife, it actually gets transferred into the inside of the fruit, and you ingest this.
Yeah.
Are we talking about those things the FDA let happen? This government oversight you don't want to be abolished?
No,
of course not.
No, I mean this is something that, like, when I was listening to RFK's speech, I was laughing a little bit because he was like, "How did we get here?" It's like, come on, you know how we got here.
Oh, he
Come
knows.
on, buddy. We invented these government agencies, and then we started regulating. Then we started allowing chemicals into a lot of our shit. People started getting fat, and people started having chronic diseases.
I mean, fuck, when you have a sugar lobby, like,
come on, like, I don't know if he was being rhetorical, but I was just chuckling, going, "Come on, bro."
Yeah.
How do you not know what it is?
Oh, he knows. He absolutely knows.
Fucking everybody knows. And then he's like, we can get rid of this, with 3 quick fixes, real quickly. And a lot of it is education over time. It's like, I guess I say you get rid of the FDA entirely. That'd probably be the fastest way.
You don't believe we need an oversight though, like to meet certain standards? I think the FDA has gotten so big that they're just so easily manipulated, and they they're taking payoffs and bribes to make things happen.
A lot of that
it's
shit,
very obvious.
A lot of that shit a lot of this bloated shit started during the Depression, when Roosevelt came back. Well, was there, World War II, all that. But when he was there, he was like, we got to get the economy running. So everything became federally controlled. And it's a brief overview of this, but everything became federally controlled, and then nobody wanted to give up control.
It never goes back, and that's
It
the
never
problem.
goes back.
It never goes
And
back.
then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they had a someone to regulate the food, someone to regulate the roads, someone to regulate the employment sector, job creation, and then you just ended up with 9,000 fucking agencies, and everybody said that was the best. Roosevelt's defining. I thought it was the dumbest idea ever. And then Lyndon Johnson comes in and he's like,
I think
let's do government subsidies. And I don't remember the titles. I have like the new.
I honestly
Deal.
don't either. Well, yeah, the New Deal was
The New Deal was Johnson.
yeah. Well, that led to Social Security.
Well, yeah, and Medicaid and Medicare,
Yeah.
which has now become an underfunded and bloated system.
You know, if I confuse that, you guys listening, you can go ahead and
I'm
correct
sure
us.
I'm sure these guys know the names.
My brain isn't working this morning as it should.
I'm sure you guys know these.
But y'all
names,
get the
but
point.
Yeah,
Y'all get the point.
I mean, I'm not wrong in the story. I just don't remember the fucking names. But
So
that's how we got here. And it's like, and now in the DNC, they're talking about how this is going to affect America negatively. I don't think it will.
I don't disagree with state level oversight though, and especially like getting back to the food thing, because a lot of people don't realize this, but they should. Why does it cost so much more, and why is there so much more red tape for an organic farmer to get their food to market? There's no pesticides. They're not using any genetically modified foods. They're not doing anything that should cost them more money outside of just literally growing their vegetables and fruits in a manner that doesn't require all these extra chemicals. Why does it cost them more? And why does that organic apple cost more than an apple that has been sprayed, modified, and fucking pissed on, probably by an FDA agent? Why does that cost more than this organic apple? Does that ever make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. But why do they also throw away food?
So at the state, I can't answer that question, but yeah, you're right.
Because
at the state level,
there are misshapen peppers that get grown.
oh, absolutely, because
they throw them away because they don't look sellable.
well, and that unfortunately was the grocery industry that made that happen by conditioning people to accept only certain types of food.
The way it looks.
Right, they're
yeah.
being competitive against each other, and it's like, oh, look, ours is better. Look how fresh this looks. Well, this other one's just as good.
It just looks bigger.
It might have a little mark or look a little smaller, but it's the same shit.
It's the same shit.
It's not rotten. There's nothing wrong with it. But there are states that really push and tout for having an organic farming.
Yeah,
Like they want to get rid of chemicals in organic farming. So of course they don't want to get rid of the FDA, because if they did that, then it would give these states who want to get out from under the thumb of the FDA and actually grow their fruits and vegetables without all this bullshit in it, they can't have that, because then they're not going to get greased by Monsanto and Bayer and all these other companies, that are going ahead and just lining their pockets with cash. They don't want to get rid of that.
and the drug part is a joke anyway,
Absolutely.
because Pfizer just waves their fucking checkbook at them, and they just go, "Oh, okay, sure, no problem, buddy."
It's a topic that I agree that there has to be an oversight, maybe a basic level of standards to meet the needs of all Americans. But all we have to do is, I'm not going to get entirely into the UK right now and all the bullshit, but as far as their policies on food in the EU right now, all we have to do is look to them, or look to Italy, for example, who bans all the crap that basically causes inflammation, mental illnesses, cardiac problems, lung problems, everything that can cause a problem because it's an ingredient that doesn't need to be there. Italy bans, the EU in general bans, yes, allowed in the USA. So yes, it can be done. It absolutely can be done. It's been done. But for some reason, we're not doing it.
But a lot of the reason for the chemicals is just simply increasing shelf life. So they can.
I mean, yeah, there's that.
That's what it is. But those chemicals are also deadly.
It's why you hear these stories of when people, and you can search YouTube, you can search everywhere. Even Joe Rogan's brought this up, by the way, how when you go to Europe, you can eat all this bread and pasta, and for some reason, you're not getting super bloated and fat because it's literally different.
Yeah.
You know, all of those preservatives and bullshit that they put into the food here aren't prevalent there. So anyway, trying to tie this back to Donald Trump and their statement on him trying to just get rid of and abolish these agencies, it's because he's trimming the fat. He wants to reduce the spending. That's really what it comes down to. It's not that he doesn't believe there shouldn't be regulation. I mean, yeah, we don't want to eat poison, even though we have been for the last, I don't know, since the 1950s. So, I don't know, there's that. I'm going to just say something about Michelle real quick before we move on. She's also about as slick as her husband, right?
Oh, they're both fucking
Everybody
bullshit.
loves her. She's very presentable. She knows how to speak. I'm going to give it to her. I'm going to give it to Obama. Even Hillary was very slick. So if you're watching the DNC or you watched it, basically, it like, again, they look like a very well put together outfit, and it's a very well produced event. And you really have to do your research and know how to read between the lines to understand what's really going on. Did you want to move on to,
We can talk about the
I think
auto
we're
guy.
Sean Fain, or should we just go? Yeah, Sean Fain.
No, because he says some stupid fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll get to that here in just a sec. Okay. Actually, let's just recap the video itself without actually. We don't need to play it because I honestly don't know why they have an auto worker union guy at the DNC anyway, pandering for votes. I mean, I get it, but you know, they were making statements of Trump not bringing the industry back, but you know, we all know that all of that industry issue started way before Trump started, you know, even before, you know, going with Chrysler back in the times of Bush, and then Obama had to save the industry, you know, factories being closed during Obama. Obama injected a bunch of money to try to bolster them, bring them back, and then it happened again. And the industry's been in trouble forever. So trying to blame Trump for the auto industry not surviving is really, it's stupid, because an industry needs to stand on its own. They basically just killed themselves by making poor decisions. The same thing that happened to the airlines, same thing happened to the baking industry. And it's not the government's job to keep these people alive and keep their jobs going. I mean, if he's going to lobby for anything, maybe they need to negotiate with the auto industry in general to keep it alive instead of trying to cry to the government for a handout every time. And that's pretty much what that's all about.
That's what that video is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's learn how to do business.
And I mean, do they really think they're going to pull votes by begging for handouts from the government to keep your own industry alive so that you have a job? Or do the people being represented by the auto worker union actually take a step back and go, why does our industry keep failing?
Yeah.
Where is the real issue? It's not the government. I mean, you're asking the government to bail you out. You're not asking them to help you in any other way outside of being bailed out.
I mean,
So-
in our lifetimes, they've been bailed out twice.
Yeah.
And then 2019, what that he references would have been a third time if Joe Biden didn't walk the picket line and cave and all that bullshit in 2020.
So again, they're trying to make it seem like the Democrat or the modern current Democratic Party is the party of the people and the party of the worker.
Yes, hope, joy, and compassion.
Which has not been the case in our lifetime. Well, no, sorry. Around the 2000s is when I believe the Democratic Party changed and they weren't the same anymore. So, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, the theme is so far lie, and lie some more for votes. That's what I'm getting.
Act like shit didn't happen.
No, let's just not talk about it. All right, you want to start wrapping up? We've been going a while. I mean, we can go forever on this, to be quite honest.
We're gonna close it out with a story that Roy Cooper talks about with Kamala Harris, and it's just not accurate.
All right, let's play that one.
It's just not accurate.
All right, here we go.
I've met these families. I know what they've been through, and they deserve more. She went toe-to-toe with some of the world's most powerful executives, and she refused to give in. Let me tell you, this was a huge risk, but she knew it was a risk worth taking. That's Kamala. And we all know what happened. The banks caved. That $4 billion for California families became $20 billion. That was the first time I witnessed Kamala in action. And what I saw was a leader who does exactly what she says she's going to do.
Here's what really happened with that shit. Okay.
Do tell.
Yes. Okay, so he's mentioning the foreclosure crisis that happened during the housing thing. And he is saying that what originally went down was a $4 billion offer to help out the foreclosures in California. She apparently got them to go to 20 billion or whatever. And the whole idea behind this story is to talk about how she stands up to the big guy. All right. But what really went down is it was 25 billion. It was not 20. And California only got 18. The rest of it went to the federal government for subsidies to other states. We have no fucking idea where that money actually went. It's gone. What happened with the 18 billion is that it went to funding measures like short sales, writing off second liens, which offered less substantial help to homeowners in foreclosure. So it went to shit that had nothing to do with foreclosure.
It went back to the industry.
Basically. Homeowners reported difficulties in accessing the promised relief due to complicated delays and other processes of paperwork. The banks largely benefited from the structures of the deals. Portions of the funds were used for activities that the banks would have spent their own money on anyway, writing off bad debt, things like that. So this whole fucking housing, this whole story is horseshit. She didn't really help California. She didn't really help anyone. And the government took a piece. The banks got to save their own money by spending government money. And there you go. That's the horseshit behind that.
And who really made out on this? The hedge fund managers.
Yeah, the banks, because they didn't have to spend.
Because they were able
money
to buy bad debt.
Yeah,
at a reduced cost. They got all those loans that were defaulted on, held on to them, and were able to make money on them.
Yeah, exactly. Who did she really help?
She didn't help anybody.
Nobody.
She just happened to be in California at the time when she was in her, appointed position, and they're trying to give her credit for it.
What's even dumber is she's on the campaign trail. She's talked about this story a couple times, showing her, toughness. And it's like, you didn't tough where?
She didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything. Nobody got help. Anyway, that's that story. Roy, fucking liar.
It's crazy that it seems to also be a theme with democratically ran California. Any deal that has to do with California for some reason, nobody knows where the money goes.
No, and for those who want to,
nobody knows.
For those out there that want to challenge what I just said, it is something.
Good luck.
You can look that motherfucker up, and if you need super duper help, you can pull out ChatGPT. They actually yank 4 or 5 sources. I mean, I know people bash it, but it's actually a nice, quick reference tool. So you're
just telling them how to make their research even easier.
Yeah. So go ahead, motherfucker. It's not that hard.
Good luck.
And then you can comment below and tell me I'm lying.
Well, so far, the DNC is, look, we didn't play all the little clips where they were talking about hope and joy and comfort and kumbaya around the campfire, but we basically played clips where we hit them hard and where we caught them in their lies. Okay, period. That's what we just did. Yes, there were great moments where they were very eloquent and they were speaking and saying things that would make you go, oh, I am behind this, because yes, who doesn't want America to be great? Who doesn't want healthy children? Who doesn't want security? Of course we do. Everybody does. But after they say that, they completely push the opposite. And they completely talk about policies and positions that are going to dismantle America to the benefit of the government. And that is your Democratic Party. This whole DNC just felt like one big slimy, ran fucking theatrical production, basically.
It was a Broadway production of.
That's exactly what it was.
Shit.
And if you ever watch, you only hear audio, but if you take it upon yourself to go look at the videos of Kamala Harris's speeches, you can see her nervousness. You can see her trying to hold back her laughter as she's saying certain things, because she knows what she's saying is bullshit. She's nervous about the lie she's telling, period. And that is a tick of most people when they get caught in a lie. They don't know how to react and they get a little nervous and they start laughing. And she's the whole time trying to hold it back. When I did the whole reaction to her speech, there were many moments where you see her like starting to crack and you see her cheeks trying to go like she's gonna laugh or smile, and she kind of like catches herself.
Yeah.
Even she knows it's bullshit because her entire campaign is bullshit. She wasn't supposed to be the nominee.
I know. Whoever's the showrunner, got to pat him on the back. That's
all right. So we're in trouble because this is the second time, during Biden's electoral run to be president against Trump in 2020, he didn't really ever debate, never answered any real questions about policy. And here we are again to where the Democratic Party is running away from any serious questions when they're being put on the spot. And it seems like the only people giving any answers are representatives that aren't actually the presidential candidate, like Gavin Newsom or Nancy Pelosi. Is like, can the presidential candidate just speak for herself?
No.
I mean, that's the person we need to hear from, right?
Right. But if she opens her mouth, she loses the election.
Sad.
I mean, it's true.
It's a sad state we're in right now that the people have been lied to for so many years. They just accepted it, and they accepted the lies as truth, and
I mean,
they're just going with it. I mean, look, Republican Party ain't perfect either. Believe me, there's some bad characters there too.
I mean, just
but they're not going out of their way to dismantle the American way of life, are they?
No. Just look at the one question she tried to answer off script. Return on investment is a return on investment with return on investment. And then if you do this, it's also a return on investment with I mean, there's your proof. Like, that's why she has to fucking sit in a cage.
So after all the videos and clips, do you know what they're running on yet?
Sort of. I have an idea.
There's
I can tell you that they, according to her on her speech, she's going to increase housing demand to lower cost. She's not going to kowtow to any foreign leader, whatever the fuck that means. She supports Israel and then supports Hamas at the same time. Not really a position. And then she wants a ceasefire, but she doesn't specify hostages. I'm sure they're all dead by now, the rate this shit's going.
Yeah, but the ceasefire thing, she's saying that they will get it done.
Right.
When they should have gotten that done back in October.
I know.
We're already almost a year in, and like, what stopped you?
Which takes you back to the question: why haven't you done any of this? You talk about all this. I mean,
what about her?
She's talking about regulating the economy with price controls, which has never worked.
I was going to talk about that actually.
But it's all surface level. It's all vague.
Well, and let's talk about her alleged economic policies. So, price fixing
to eliminate gouging. Yeah.
To eliminate gouging. Okay,
supposedly.
Let's start with that. And then she said we need an opportunity-based economy.
Yep.
Interesting.
Whatever that means.
So, opportunity-based economy with price controls. So, I'm not sure. Opportunity-based economy sounds very Marxist to me. It's basically saying that, look, you can be what you want, choose whatever you want, and we're going to make everything the same for everybody. That's basically Marxism. That's basically what happens in communist nations.
Yeah.
And if you're going to price fix, how are you going to determine that without choking the companies who are making and providing these products and services? Are you going to dive in and become a member of their company like China does, another communist nation, to determine what they're spending and how much it costs and how much profit they should make? So so that means by fixing their prices, you're also going to fix their profit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be some kind of governmental fee or kickback for the regulation, right?
More than likely, they're going to have to pay back, yeah.
So 2 things that she said related to the economy that somehow is going to fix things that are Marxist in their roots.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then the housing crisis was created by what? A couple things. The unmanaged border with tens of millions of people coming in. These illegal immigrants are getting vouchers for housing. They're getting free medical. They're getting welfare. They're getting weekly cash, cell phones. So where do we put these people? The government's giving them housing, but that's not the only problem, by the way. I mean, it's a big country. But what about her standing up to her lobbyists and her support, such as BlackRock, who are going around and buying all of these properties in a time when people can't afford to do it due to all the interest rates, but BlackRock has this money, and they're buying out all the properties and then renting them. She's allowing the nation to become a nation of renters.
Yeah. I mean, just take the 20.
So how's she going to fix it?
Well, just...
You know what? It doesn't...
I have no
I'm not sure I understand how she's fixing it.
I have no idea how she's going to fix it, but the big story of housing with the $20 billion thing, if she was that tough, she should have made sure it went straight to foreclosures and not go all over the fucking country.
Well, you know, she just retracted what she said about creating vouchers for first-time buyers.
Oh, the $25,000 thing?
And now it's not that. Now she's retracted and said, no, it's going to be first-time generational buyers. So it's not about you being a first-time buyer now. If your family in your history hasn't
never owned a home,
and then you're the first one, then you're able to get that. What? But not if you're a first-time buyer. Yeah. So she'll be flipped on one thing.
That's another problem with her. She doesn't stick to anything. Like, how do you trust that?
You can't. I don't know.
But they're going to vote for it. She's probably going to get about 70 million at least that are going to vote.
Because hope, joy, and abortions.
Yes.
Hope, joy, and abortions. Then we should just end it there.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just sad now. I don't know.
We can keep going, but yeah, let's just wrap it up. Let's just wrap it up. Okay. So anyway, thanks for sticking in there, hanging in there with us, listening to this. It's been a long episode, and I'm gonna end with this. Yes, the DNC was slick, polished, very well produced, but you got to read between the lines in what they're saying and what they're standing for, because if you don't, we're gonna be in trouble as a nation. So again, let's thank my brother for being on. If you haven't checked it out, check out the Stretchgoose Podcast. And for fun, hey, check out Random Thoughts with Manuel George. We're not completely necessarily political on that one, but it's a good time. I think you'll enjoy it. And of course, you already know World Blaze. So I think we'll do this again, and we'll continue the Stretch of Blaze episodes, and we'll drop this in as specials in our shows when we get together. And yeah, it's been fun. So there you have it. Yay!
All right.
We did it.